What's going on YouTube? I'm your host Corporal, and this is The Anime Veteran. Cue the intro. Today we're going to be talking about the Death Note live action film coming to Netflix. Death Note has actually 2 precursing seasons of anime as well as manga and 2 live action films originating from Japan. Leading up this project, they have Mr. Adam Wingard from The Guest and You're Next. Now, he's directed a couple other things as well. I know one of his bigger projects was the Blair Witch Horror sequel film. Opened up about a year or so back. I mean, did pretty well for a horror film as well as a lot of his other films that are horror. Now, I'm not degrading the man's ability to make a dang good horror film. But as far as a psychological thriller and something that's meant to push the envelope inside your mind, make you think outside the box, make you try to figure out who's going to make what move, who's going to go after who, and how it's going to come about, how L is really going to try to outsmart Kira, and vice versa. I honestly haven't seen him do any films with the works along the psychological thriller line. Now, in a Netflix from he did with the Collider, you'll notice that, I'll have it up on the screen here, you'll notice that he said we can do whatever we want. He labeled the anime as adult-oriented, and he cited the anecdote seeing a not-for-kids sticker on a copy of Akira in a Suncoast. Now, Akira and Death Note are 2 completely different animes. I mean, I'll give you the fact that Kira, the alias that Light Yagami uses in the anime, and Akira are close, but at the same time, they are nowhere near the same anime. Now, I won't denote the fact that Death Note is pushed more towards an older audience. I wouldn't necessarily say adults only. I'd really say I started watching the anime when I was 15. Absolutely love it. But, he just seemed to be real cocky going into this interview he was doing. I mean, he called it a live-action anime, which technically can't even be considered correct in any way, shape, or form, because it is not a live-action anime, it's a live-action film. Now, at the same time, he called it more of a reimagining than a remake, which I guess in some light gives him a little leeway to stray away from the basic concept of the film itself and just kind of go in his own direction. One thing that I will note that I didn't particularly like from his interview is that the film would have nudity, swearing, and a ton of violence. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually enjoy all of these things, but at the same time, that's not what the anime was about. Now, there was violence in the anime, but not a ton, so I'm really wondering what he's going to do in regards to this ton of violence he's promising. He also mentioned that he's got Jason Eisner, the director that did Hobo with a Shotgun, as a second director on the film with him. Now, I have no problem with Jason Eisner. He's a really good director. He does really good trope films, and that's what he's good at. But as far as doing a serious psychological thriller, I come back to my point on the whole Adam Wingard point. Is Adam Wingard able to do a psychological thriller versus his classic horror films that he does? And the same thing goes for Jason Eisner. Great director as well, but he does tropes and horror films and things of that nature. Can he pull off a psychological thriller? Adam Wingard then went on in his interview to state that, I think we ended up with a really kind of nasty and crazy film. Basically saying that Netflix has given them the permissions to do with the film whatever they want. Make it as adult themed as they like, make it violence oriented, sex, nudity. They haven't said anything about drug use, but I imagine at some point that's probably going to come out. It touched a bit on a little bit of drug use in the anime where they thought maybe Light was using drugs in order to stay up and study for exams. So maybe they'll touch in on that, maybe they won't, don't know. Now, as far as the cast of this movie goes, he's not even keeping with original names for the most part. He's actually changed up the names from the original anime as well as live action film. which I guess, like I said, you can get away with when you call it a reimagining instead of a remake. Now, for the role of Light Turner, we have Nat Wolff. Nat Wolff, otherwise known as Nathaniel Marvin Wolff, is the son of Polly Draper and Michael Wolff. Which, I mean, if you don't know who Michael Wolff is, use Google. It's not that hard. Now, he did play on a couple of TV series. I think his most noted work was the Naked Brothers Band, which it was more of a goofy, kind of light-hearted comedy than a serious, dark, psychological thriller. By all means, I hope to see great things come out of Mr. Nat Wolff in regards to this movie and the role he's been given. However, I still remain skeptical. Next up on the line we're going to talk about is the character Misa Amane. Misa Amane is being played by Sarah Margaret Qualley. She is a fantastic actress. She played Jill Garvey in the HBO show The Leftovers. I mean, the proof speaks for itself. The woman is a phenomenal actress. She's done many other works as well. Some noted, some not noted. As far as in my book, I've only seen certain films that she's done, and I will say though that I am impressed with the work she has done so far. The role of Misa Amane, if they stay true to the anime, will not be too far out of her comfort zone. I believe she'll be able to pull it off quite nicely. Is the character L, who will be played by Keith Stanfield. Keith Stanfield, as many of you will know, played in The Purge Anarchy. He played Snoop Dogg in Straight Outta Compton. He played Get Out, and he played in Atlanta. All of these were great roles in great films, by all means. But at the end of the day, none of them, as with Nat Wolff playing, Light Turner, neither does Keith Stanfield have a lot of experience in the horror kind of psychological thriller area. Now, you might say, but he played in Get Out. That was a horror film. No, Get Out was a comedy. It was actually more of a trope, I would say. He is, once again, a phenomenal actor, but how he plays this role, I am really looking forward to seeing. All you really get to see of L in the trailer is just a sliver of him walking down a red corridor and then him standing up in a crime scene. Now, we were led to believe that that corridor was leading to the crime scene, so maybe things will work out fine. Next actor we're going to talk about in the film is by far the proudest achievement in my mind, and who I believe was the best candidate for the role. Phenomenal actor, William Dafoe playing Ryuk. Many of you know William Dafoe from the Spider-Man trilogy, Shadow of the Vampire, as well as many other great films that he's done. The voice from the trailer was spot on. I mean, you can't ask for a better Ryuk than William Dafoe. The level of experience mixed with the creepiness that is Ryuk from the anime is just spot on. Now we're going to be talking about the trailer for the live action film. I'm not going to put it up in my video as this is my first. I do not want to fall to any kind of fair use claims. However, we will discuss it in detail, and if you want to see it, it is all over YouTube. There is no way you can miss it. You've probably already seen it yourself before you even came here to my video. As the trailer starts off, you see the Death Note falling from the sky down towards the ground, and the way they do the shot makes it seem like it just fell out of thin air. It just kind of starts with it right on the scene, or right on the screen. You'll notice that Light Turner in this scene is sitting outside at a table beside where the book falls, instead of being inside the classroom like in the anime, board with his classmates due to the fact that he knows he's more highly intelligent and he's more disconnected with them. Light Turner picks up the Death Note, gives it a once over. The cover's worn, which is really strange due to the fact that in the anime, as well as the manga and the live action movies, it was depicted as a clean-cut book. It was the property of a Shinigami, of God of Death. So why would this Shinigami's book be old, worn, and torn if it is, as they put in the anime, such a key part of the Shinigami's life? Without a Death Note, the Shinigami cannot take human lives, therefore the Shinigami cannot extend their life. Next scene cuts over to an apple on a book, beside a book, that gets ripped off the table, followed by some blotchy text, with a couple skyline shots. And then it cuts over to Misa Mana's character, who is a cheerleader smoking a cigarette. Now, Misa Mana was an idol in the anime. She was very popular, but as far as the role of a high school cheerleader, I mean, I can see where they're going for. She was a very popular character in the anime as well as the manga and the live action film. But over here in America, in the Western culture, we don't really have pop idols like they do over in Japan. So I can see their want to change that up. But at the same time, they could have made her a singer, they could have made her a model, they could have made her any way, shape, and form of a young adult in a more closely related role than a high school cheerleader. The next shot you're going to see is going to be L walking down a red corridor. And really you just see him for a split second, as that is all you see. It goes back to some more white blotch, like you don't even want to read it. And then it cuts over to Light reading the Death Note. Now, what I don't like about this particular portion of the trailer is it just makes it seem like he picks it up, he reads how writing someone's name in the book will kill them, and then continues to write someone's name in the book. However, in the anime, he had very conflicting thoughts about the first time he ever wrote in the Death Note. At first, he even dismissed it as a complete hoax in the beginning, thinking that it was students messing with people. But in the trailer, it just makes it seem like he is more than willing to just turn around and write the name. We then cut off to some people jumping off of a building, L standing up in a crime scene saying Kira is justice, and then back over to Misa, Mano, and Light Turner. They get really passionate. He starts running from the cops. There's a helicopter and a Ferris wheel. I really don't know what's going on at this point in the trailer. To me, it seems like they're trying to broadcast as more of a action movie than a psychological thriller, which in my mind makes me believe that they actually don't care about the original demographic of the fan base of Death Note. It seems like they're just trying to open it up wider and draw in more people. I mean, I may be wrong. I pray that I am. If we get lucky, then, it might have a little bit of action here and there like in the anime and be mostly a psychological thriller. I mean, if it is, by far it would be a fantastic movie, but let's get real. This is 2017. People don't want psychological thrillers that is 90% mental and 10% action. They want 90% action and 10% mental because that's what's going to keep them on the edge of their seats. That's what's going to keep them entertained. That's what's going to keep them wanting more. The very last scene of the trailer cuts over to Light Turner with a side shot, and you hear cackling from a demonic Ryuk. As Light slowly starts to turn, you see a dark figure with glowing eyes behind him, and he states, "Shall we begin?" Now, this is a really nice trope to the original Ryuk, as well as just a great line to showcase William Dafoe's abilities to play the role. I will say that Ryuk's character in the anime is more of a support character, you could say. He is there to provide Light with a little bit of knowledge here and there, but all in all, he's very neutral. He's not there to help Light, he's not there to hurt Light. He just is bored and he wants to be in the human world where things are interesting. Now, with that being said, as far as CGI goes, I don't think they're going to get much better than the Ryuk from the original live-action films. I mean, as far as adaptation goes, that was extremely spot on. Almost exactly like the anime, but of course with CGI. Well, I've given my 2 cents on this project. I believe that it will be more of an action film than a psychological thriller. The cast, while very good actor and actresses, have me worried that maybe they didn't cast the right types of people in the roles. The director and co-director, I guess you could say, with Jason Eisner and Adam Wingard being in it together, are both more of a horror film action kind of directors, where I believe that Death Note needs more of a psychological thriller. Now, I'm not going to go anywhere near M. Night Shyamalan. Lord knows he'd have this movie fucked 2 ways from Sunday. But I will say that I look forward to watching it. I am going to watch it. I have no high hopes but at the same time, I do wish it the best. Because after all, it is entertainment, and that's what it's all about. Thank you for tuning into my video. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, I am your host, Corporal, and this is The Anime Veteran.